Hello TTI students, welcome to the second session of Intro to Audio. Our goals for this session will be to define characteristics of sound and how it travels, talk about audio file formats, build a project of 5 or more tracks, edit audio files using trim, fade, pan, and audio level, export the project in a .wav format, and then finally submit the project for review. To learn more about where sound comes from and how it travels through different mediums, follow the link below. If you want to learn more about how sound travels, follow the link at the bottom of the slide. So if you watch this week's video, then you probably learned that sound travels through different mediums differently. But how does sound travel through your computer? In other words, how do those audio files on your computer become sound that you can hear through headphones or a speaker? Well, if you think back to Computer Systems and Services Camp, you may recall that all computer files are just strings of ones and zeros, or binary code. But how did those audio files become ones and zeros? Well, to better understand, let's take a look at how a sound wave travels through a microphone into the computer and then back out to a speaker. There are 4 basic types of microphones: dynamic, condenser, ribbon, and crystal. For this example, we'll be talking about dynamic microphones. A microphone is a transducer, which means it converts one type of energy into another. If you were to look inside the head of a dynamic microphone, you'd see a thin piece of material called the diaphragm. Attached to the diaphragm is a magnetic coil, and when the diaphragm vibrates from sound waves, the magnetic coil creates an electrical current proportionate to the sound wave. Once the signal leaves the microphone and it's amped up a little bit, it'll go to the analog to digital converter. This is where the audio signal turns from electricity into ones and zeros. Thousands of times every second, a little fraction of that signal is taken and stored digitally. Ones and zeros. Most all audio playback devices you find these days are digital. But not that long ago, it was all analog. Which brings us to our learning intermission, the history of recorded media. The first recordable playback device was the phonograph. It was invented by Thomas Edison, and the recording medium was a cylinder coated with wax. The next recording medium was a flat disc coated with wax and became known as the record. You would play a record on a record player. Next, the 8-track magnetic tape. The 8-track became popular in the late 60s. For the first time, you could play music inside of a car other than a radio. The compact cassette is also a magnetic tape, just like the 8-track. However, the cassette replaced the 8-track, mostly due to convenience. The sound quality is not any better. And finally, the compact disc. It was available in 1982, but took a little while to catch on because they were expensive, and CD players were expensive. So it was into the 90s before they became really widespread. And then finally, to modern day, your iPod, MP3, or your smartphone, all digital audio. Where would you be without it today? When Apple sold individual songs for 99 cents, it was the first time in history that when a new recording medium came along, that music actually got cheaper. Next, we're going to talk about audio file formats and codecs. Now, you might be wondering why there are so many different formats, and there's a few different reasons. Many companies have created their own coding format to optimize the performance of their product or software. Also, as technology has improved over the years, new formats have had to be developed to keep up with the times. Adobe Audition will read almost any format that you'll come across. What do you need to know about audio file formats? For this course, just that there's 3 basic types. Uncompressed, which means there's no compression applied at all. Lossless, where the original data is compressed, but then perfectly reconstructed when it's decompressed. Or lossy, where actually vital information is thrown away and can never be reclaimed. The different formats have different purposes. To learn more about file formats, follow the link at the bottom of the page. If you're wondering what an audio codec is, it's software or hardware designed to compress and decompress audio to a specific coding format. The goal of the session is to build and edit a project with 5 tracks or more. I will demonstrate how to trim files, add fades, pan from left to right, adjust volume levels, and then at the end, export the project in a .wav audio file format. So far, you should have completed at least one project in Adobe Audition. Hopefully you've had some time to play around and get to know the software a little better. For content during this project, you can use the audio files you downloaded from Adobe, or any other files that you may have. If you have trouble getting started, check out the Session 1 video for some tips. There are a few shortcuts I will be using during this presentation, so I wanted to point them out before we get started. Hit the plus key to zoom in on your selection. Hit the minus key to zoom out. Hit the tilde key to go full screen for any window that's selected. And the tilde key is the key just above the tab key and below the escape key. To demonstrate, I've already built a project with 5 tracks, so that way we can get started right away. Here's a slide with the 4 techniques that we'll be using today. If you get stuck or you need further guidance, you can refer back to this slide. Here's my project with 5 tracks. First, I'm going to make sure the multi-track session window is highlighted. You'll know it's highlighted when you see a box around it. This version, the highlight is orange. 2015 is blue. So you can see the audio files better. I'm going to get in closer. So I'm going to press the tilde key, the one that's above the tab key. Now I want to get even closer, so I'm going to hover my mouse below the track that I want to edit. And when the symbol changes, I'll click and pull down. Now I want to get even closer, so I'm going to hit the plus key to zoom in. Alright, now I can see my track really well. Then I'm going to select the clip by clicking on it. The first technique that we'll start with is the trim. To trim an audio clip, hover your pointer near the edge of the clip. When you see a red bracket, hold down the left button on your mouse. Then you'll be able to move the clip in and out. You can't make the clip longer than it was originally. That is how you trim an audio clip. To fade a clip, you need to find the squares in the top left and right corners of the audio clip. This is how you fade. Click the left button on your mouse and then move the box. This will give you your fade. You can change it into all different shapes just to fit your need. I'm going to put that back because I'm not going to actually fade it right now. Next, we're going to talk about panning. This is when you move the sound either to the left side of the stereo field or to the right side or somewhere in between. There's a dark gray line in the middle of the clip. If you hover over that, press down your left mouse button, you can move it. Go up to pan left, go down to pan right. That's how you pan an audio clip. Adjusting the volume of each individual clip can be a real bonus. You can do that by hovering over the yellow line, pressing down on your mouse, and raising it up to make it louder, bringing it down to make it quieter. So those are 4 quick and easy ways to edit an audio clip. Although some editing is done along the way of building a project, most of the fades I'll add at the end because, well, I'm not sure how the project's going to turn out, so I don't want to put limits on it before I finish. When you're finished with your project and you're happy, go ahead and export it. Click on File at the top, go down to Export, go to Multi-Track Mixdown, then click on Entire Session. Next you'll get a dialog box like this one. Just make sure that it's a WAV file. These are all the different audio file formats that Adobe Audition uses. For now, we're just going to use WAV. Click on OK. It will mix down your session and export it into the predetermined location. As a quick review, here's what we covered today. We defined sound and how it travels through different mediums differently. We learned microphones and speakers are both transducers. We followed a sound wave through a microphone and into a computer. We learned how sound waves turn into ones and zeros. We talked about sample rate and A to D converters. Talked about the history of recording mediums. We covered file formats and audio codecs. We built and edited a 5-track project in Adobe Audition. Now don't forget to submit your project. Here's the project I made with the files that I downloaded from Adobe's website for free.